Part 65. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 684. Since the 76ers swept their opponents in 4 games, the regular season awards have also started one after another. The first prize was awarded for the best rookie. Andrew Wiggins took over this rookie's highest honor trophy at a press conference in Minnesota. Then came the trophy for the best manager. Sam Hinkie won this honor last year. He failed to win this season. The trophy was awarded to the Warriors' general manager Bob Myers. At the beginning of the season, he withstood the pressure, fired Mark Jackson, the coach who led the team with good results, and hired Steve Kerr. The result was amazing. The Warriors became the biggest dark horse in the East and West in one fell swoop. With a record of 65 wins in the regular season, the Warriors rank second in the league and first in the West. All this is the credit of Bob Myers. And then, the award of the best coach is fiercely competitive. As the rookie head coach, Steve Kerr led the team to a record of 65 wins. He is naturally eligible to compete for the best coach, but 67 wins are a better record. Brett Brown has never won this honor. On the team's performance, it is clear that Brett Brown should win the trophy of the best coach. The league did not announce any media votes in advance, so the competition between Steve Kerr and Brett Brown continued until the beginning of the second round. The first round of the game was all over after 5 days. The Eagles took the next game and directly won the Bucks and advanced to the second round. Their opponent Cavaliers made 2 consecutive games after a 2-2 tie in the series. In the first round of the game, their opponent is the Eagles, and the 2 teams will fight in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The 76ers' opponents in the second round were decided between the Bulls and the Raptors. The Raptors, who were gradually regaining their form, gradually delayed the game. After 4 games, the 2 teams tied 2-2. Then, the Raptors won 1 game each and the game was dragged into a tiebreak. In the tiebreaker, the more stable Bulls won. Jimmy Butler arranged the scoring in the first 3 quarters, and Derrick Rose broke out in the 4th quarter, and finally helped the Bulls win the game. In this way, the 76ers' opponents in the second round were also released, and the Bulls advanced to the second round and will face a strong challenge from the 76ers. However, compared to the Raptors, the Sixers are more reluctant to encounter the Bulls. The Raptors' Trash brothers are in an unstable state, and DeMar DeRozan is restrained by anxiety. If the Sixers face the Raptors will without a chance. The 76ers will easily win this round of the series. Of course, now against the Bulls, there will be no surprises, but the process will be a little bit more difficult. In the West, the Grizzlies took a 3-1 lead and won the game 4-1 after another victory. They will face the Warriors in the second round. For the Warriors, the second round is not easy to play, and the Grizzlies are difficult. Entangled opponents, maybe they can win the second round, but after winning the second round, they will definitely have to lose their skin. In another matchup, the Rockets lost 1 game and then won 4 games in a row, defeating the Mavericks 4-1 to advance to the second round. The Spurs and the Clippers also reached the tiebreaker. In the end, the Spurs, who lost anxiety, regressed continuously. They were defeated by the Clippers 4-3 this season and came for a first-round trip. In this way, the Clippers advanced to the second round and faced the Rockets. All 4 matchups between the East and the West came out. The 76ers met the Bulls, the Cavaliers met the Eagles, the Warriors met the Grizzlies, and the Rockets met the Clippers. On May 3, 2015, US time, the second round of the game kicked off, and the first game between the 76ers and the Bulls also started. The Wachovia Arena became a sea of celebration, and Adam Silver was present in person to present the award to Brett Brown. In the end, in the competition for the best coach, Brett Brown won. Of course, this is what he deserves. Last season, the Sixers had a very good record and became a dark horse in the East. This season, the Sixers have become the league's first. The record of 67 wins is obviously better than the record of the Warriors. Fortunately, this honor can't be justified unless it is given to Brett Brown. After some celebration, the game began. The Bulls want to use a victory to break the celebration of the 76ers. Their ideas are good, but the reality is cruel. The difference between the strength of the two teams is too big. In the first round, the Bulls relied on Jimmy Butler's continuous scoring in the first 3 quarters to drag the game into the final quarter, and then rely on the peak of the quarter, Derrick Rose, to resolve the game. But the Bulls did not have the last quarter in this game. Anxie suppressed Jimmy Butler alone. On the one hand, the suppression on both ends of the offense and defense made Jimmy Butler unable to score. On the other hand, Jimmy Butler could not prevent Anxie at all. In this way, after 3 quarters, the game was won, and Derrick Rose was also helpless and could only watch the game fail. The 76ers won the first game 122-107. Then, in the second game, they continued to fight at home. The 76ers ushered in another trophy in this game, not Anxie's MVP trophy, nor any other Anxie trophy, but Lewis Williams' Best Sixth Man trophy. In the second half of the season, Lewis Williams was reused. In the first half, Lewis Williams performed well, but in the second half of the season, Lewis Williams directly became the 76ers' third scorer. Finally, the season ended. Lewis Williams averaged 15.5 points, 1.9 rebounds and 2.2 assists per game, and was elected the best sixth man of the season. This trophy means that the signing of Lewis Williams succeeded a role player who was not valued at first succeeded and became the third person of the 76ers. Lewis Williams won the best sixth man trophy, and the game started again in celebration. In this game, the Bulls stubbornly resisted the 2 quarters. During the intermission, Brett Brown was furious. After winning the trophy of the best coach, Brett Brown was also confident. After a fire broke out, the 76ers in the second half it broke out. Anxie scored 20 points in the third quarter, Lewis Williams also hit 5 3-pointers, the 76ers scored 47 points in a single quarter, ending the suspense of the game in one fell swoop. In this way, after 2 games, the 76ers gained a 2-0 lead. Next, they will head to Chicago to start the next 2 away games to be held. In the other 3 duels, the Cavaliers faced the Eagles. They unexpectedly lost in the first game, but they recovered their form in the second game and defeated the Eagles. The 2 teams tied 2-2 in the first 2 games. In the West, the Grizzlies are indeed a difficult opponent. The Warriors won the first game easily, but in the second game, the Grizzlies strengthened their defensive strength. In the high-pressure defense and slow-paced positional battles, the Grizzlies played the Warriors were defeated at 97-90, and the first 2 games were also tied 1-1. The Clippers defeated the Rockets by a big score in the first game. Countless people are boasting about grievous defensive tactics. The defense of Matt Barnes and others made James Harden unable to commit a foul. Harden's performance in this game was extremely poor. Only Dwight Howard can play alone. In the second game, James Harden's performance was still average, but relying on the outbreak of Dwight Howard and a number of role players, the Rockets won the second game. In this way, after the first 2 games, only the 76ers led 2-0, and the scores of the remaining 3 matchups were all 1-1. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 685. In the next 2 away games, the 76ers did not win any more honors, and the Most Improved Player award was won by Jimmy Butler, so the 76ers watched a Bulls celebration in the United Center. But after the start of the race, the Bulls fans once again had to feel desperate. As soon as the game started, Anxie started singles. Jimmy Butler came up in front of Anxie and was under pressure from Anxie. On the first goal of the opening game, Anxie hit back from a high post, turned around to make a shot, and clicked Jimmy Butler. After the adjustment, Lindsay moved a step sideways and hit the shot. 2:0. Then, Jimmy Butler took the ball and pushed it directly to the front court to force Angzi's defense. But obviously, Jimmy Butler was thinking too much, and the consecutive fake moves have not been able to break through Angzi's defense, but the final strong shot was slapped down by Angzi. An excited roar sounded from the commentary, "Pretty." Jimmy Butler was completely eaten to death by Angzi. This is a crushing of personal strength. The Bulls have nothing to do, and Jimmy Butler has nothing to do. The basketball flies off the sideline and the Bulls have the ball. Jimmy Butler didn't dare to try to attack anymore. The ball came out and finally went to Derrick Rose. Rose missed the goal and Lawrence Knoll protected the rebound. Then, with a flick of the ball, Angzi got the basketball and launched a fast break. Angzi rushed to the front court, no one could stop it, and another strong attack that took advantage of the opponent's failure to defend in place, broke into the basket, made a dunk, 4:0. After 4:0, the Bulls still had difficulty in scoring, and Angzi tried his best to defend against another wave of Bulls offense. Immediately after that, it was the old routine, a fast break, and Angzi hit a three-pointer, 7:0. The Bulls started to be anxious, and Tom Thibodeau stood on the sidelines, yelling to let the team fight in as much as possible. However, the 76ers strengthened their defensive strength, and Angzi turned to assist defense, and hit the Bulls by surprise. As a result, the Bulls' offense failed again, and Angzi continued to show off. This time it was a breakthrough to attract 3 double teams. After the score, Jack Lauder made a three-pointer with an assist, 9:0. The Bulls' offense continued to miss. Angzi also continued to score. It was another low single. Turning to the basket, he scored 2 points, 11:0. In the opening game, the 76ers beat the Bulls 15:0 and directly knocked the Bulls apart. No one thought that the Bulls were so fragile, they were still receiving the award, and then they were knocked down by the 76ers led by Angzi. After 15:0, the Bulls can no longer set off a wave of counterattack. After all, there are too many behind in the opening game. It is too difficult to chase points in front of such a strong 76ers. In the end, Angzi scored 22 points in the first quarter, leading the 76ers to play the game in the first quarter, 37:16. The 76ers lead 21 points in the first quarter, the Bulls have no fight back, 3:0 in sight. In the second quarter, the 76ers continued their efforts, leading by 37 points at halftime, and the suspense of the game was completely gone. The Bulls fans of the United Center began to leave after halftime. Therefore, Charles Barkley in the commentary joked, "The Eastern Conference semifinals match point. After halftime, the game is over. This may be the fastest game I have ever seen. Kenny, isn't it time to get off work?" Kenny Smith also smiled, "Charles, isn't it too early to get off work? Or do we also play a few rounds? After all, it's the same for everyone." In the second half of the game, the Bulls were unable to resist, and Angzi also left early. His stats were fixed at 33 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals and 2 blocks. This is a data he won in the small half of the game. The data is still very beautiful. This has to make Charles Barkley amazed, the current Angzi is really too strong. In terms of pure strength, he is already stronger than Michael Jordan. Perhaps at this time, the hearts of the Bulls fans are very complicated. There is another Michael Jordan in the league. Even the stronger Michael Jordan, but this Michael Jordan does not belong to the Bull, the age of the Bull is over long ago. At the end of the game, the 76ers won again, 3:0, and the 76ers were only one victory away from 2 consecutive sweeps. The third game between the Cavaliers and the Hawks also started on the second day. In this game, the Cavaliers, who recovered their form, did not give the Hawks any chance. With a 20-point lead in the 4 quarters, they won the game cleanly. After 4 quarters of fierce battle, the Warriors finally won the Grizzlies by 2 points with difficulty. The Clippers also played well, leading by 24 points in the 3 quarters, and finally won the Rockets 124-99. After the other 3 games, the Cavaliers 2-1 for the Eagles, the Warriors 2-1 for the Grizzlies, and the Clippers 2-1 for the Rockets. 2 days later, the 4th game between the 76ers and the Bulls began. In this game, the 76ers still did not give the Bulls any chance. With Anzi in, the 76ers were simply a dwarf against the Bulls. After another victory, the 76ers swept their opponents again in 4 games. Sweeping opponents in 2 consecutive series, the Sixers' strength this season has been undoubtedly highlighted. They are determined to win the championship. If there are no accidents, 2 consecutive championships seem to be no problem. Of course, there are also some people who expect other teams to pose some threats to the 76ers. For example, the Cavaliers. LeBron James returned to the Cavaliers, so he has a group of younger teammates. The strength level is stronger than the Heat, although many people are not optimistic that the Cavaliers can beat the 76ers, but no matter how you look at it, the Eastern Conference has the best chance to defeat. There are only Cavaliers for the 76ers. Many people don't know if the Cavaliers have a chance, but the Cavaliers played very hard in the Eastern Conference semifinals. After 2-1, in Atlanta's away game, the Cavaliers lost another game. 4 games later, the 2 teams actually tied 2-2. The Cavaliers' state of the Cavaliers were extremely disappointed. In the West, the Warriors played well. Although it was difficult, they won another game by 10 points in the away game and got the match point 3-1. The Clippers also performed well. They won another big victory with 128-95 away. It seems that the Rockets are not the Clippers' opponent at all. They won 2 consecutive games, and Chris Paul is not far from realizing his dream of the Western Conference floor. The 76ers, who swept their opponents early, began to quietly watch the changes in the other 3 matchups. The Cavaliers will undoubtedly be the strongest opponent in the Eastern Conference of the Sixers, but judging from the Cavaliers' struggle in the Eastern Conference semifinals, the Cavaliers will only advance to the finals. A small stumbling block on the road will not have much impact on the 76ers. In the West, the Warriors performed well. Facing a strong enemy like the Grizzlies, they were able to win 3 games and scored the match point 3-1. This shows the strength of the Warriors. The Clippers have also played well, winning 2 consecutive games. They seem to be stronger than the Warriors. Among the 8 teams in the second round, the state is only worse than the 76ers. If they can play all the way to the end, they will do so. Is the 76ers' biggest rival. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, San Buletinji. Chapter 686. 2 consecutive victories have made many people look optimistic about the Clippers' playoff prospects. They only need 1 victory to advance to the Western Conference Finals and fulfill Chris Paul's dream for many years. But in the 5th game, the game returned to Houston. Many people argued that the Clippers might take advantage of the victory to win the 4th game and directly advance to the Western Conference Finals. Some people think that the Clippers will not ignore the strength of the Rockets at home. May let go of the 5th game, save enough energy, return to the home court to end the series. But obviously, the Clippers are somewhat relaxed. They played very relaxed at the beginning of this game, so that the Rockets found a chance at the beginning and played 2 waves of small climaxes. After halftime, the Clippers were behind by 20 points. Now, even if they don't want to let go of the game, they can only be forced to let it go. After all, a 20-point lag is too difficult to chase, unless Nick Young returns to the Clippers and Chris Paul is convulsed. Nick Young staged a big reversal again. But this is too difficult. After all, their opponent is not the Grizzlies, but a Rocket that also has a superstar. Thus, in the fifth game, the Rockets scored a 25-point victory and pulled back one city. In the sixth game, the Clippers still held the match point, but this game, their mentality collapsed. Except for Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, all the other players in the Clippers team played abnormally. In contrast, it is obvious that all the Rockets' role players played. Josh Smith scored 19 points and 6 rebounds. Corey Brewer had 19 points, 10 rebounds and 2 assists, Terrence Jones had 16 points, Trevor Ariza had 13 points, and Jason Terry also had 7 points, 7 rebounds and 5 assists. This game is a headband. Brothers outbreak. In the end, the Rockets surprisingly dragged the series into the tiebreak when the total score was 1-3 behind. In the tiebreaker, the mentality of the two teams has been completely different. This time it was the Rockets' turn to take advantage of the victory and the Clippers were forced to fight, and the game returned to Houston again. This is extremely bad news for the Clippers. In the other two battles, the Warriors won the fifth game. In the end, they defeated the Grizzlies 4-1, and they reached the Western Conference Finals. How do you look at the Warriors this season is a bit like the 76ers last season, as a dark horse. Won the first place in the Western Conference in the regular season, and even defeated strong opponents in the playoffs, and is currently in full swing. As for the Cavaliers, they were backed by the Hawks with a 3-1 lead. However, unlike the Clippers, they won the sixth game. Therefore, in the end, the Cavaliers defeated the Hawks 4-2. Advanced to the Eastern Conference Finals, and their opponent is the invincible 76ers in the league. With the Clippers and Rockets in the tie-break, the two teams with completely different mentalities finally played a matchup without any suspense. The Headband brothers continued to explode. At the critical moment, Kevin McHale even put James Harden on the bench. Because from the perspective of efficiency on the court, James Harden is not on the court, the Rockets perform better. As a result, a redemption battle belonging to role players, in the end, the Rockets won the tiebreaker victory. In the case of 1-3 behind, the Rockets completed a shocking reversal, and finally advanced to the Western Conference Finals. In this regard, the two matchups of the East and West Finals are all decided. The 76ers will meet the challenge of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Warriors will also face the Houston Rockets, who have just completed a shocking reversal. In Cleveland, Ohio, LeBron James looked serious, and the last public training before the Eastern Conference began. At this moment, LeBron James is under great pressure. He is very clear that what he has to face is anxiety, another mountain standing in front of him. This mountain is more difficult to deal with than the previous Celtic Big Three. If rationally calculating the odds, LeBron James knows that he only has a 10% chance of winning anxiety. As soon as the reporters on the sidelines saw LeBron James, they immediately surrounded him. LeBron James was surrounded. He pressed his hand to signal the reporters to be quiet. Then, without evading anything, he began to answer questions from the reporters one by one. About the prospects of the Eastern Finals. I want to say that now that I have reached this position, I have nothing to ask for but victory. Facing the pressure of the 76ers. The 76ers are a formidable opponent, but that doesn't mean they are unbeatable. Yes, they have swept all the way to the present, but I don't think they can continue to sweep. We will defeat them, and we will do our best to eliminate them. Finally, let me just say one thing, the Philadelphia 76ers and anxiety are not unbeatable. In Philadelphia, the 76ers waiting for their opponents did not underestimate the enemy. They are preparing for the battle, but anxiety has a lot of other things to be busy. The league has a few staff members, and they will be anxiety for the next home game. Awarding the trophy of the regular season MVP. Yes, That's right, Anzi won the MVP award of the season's regular season, which is well deserved, and undoubtedly, except for Anzi, no one is more worthy of this honor. The league's number one team record, averaged 35.4 points, 8.0 rebounds, 9.7 assists, 3.2 steals and 1.4 blocks per game, leading scoring and steals. This is definitely the top 5 individual regular season performance in history. If you can't get the regular season MVP, the reporters who participated in the selection can be laid off. In the end, the voting situation of the reporters also reflected this point. Anzi got all 131 first votes and became the first player in history to be elected MVP unanimously. Sure enough, there is no doubt, no doubt. Well deserved. In the Eastern and Western Finals, the Eastern Conference, which was the first to end the semifinals, started the Eastern Finals. On May 20, 2015, the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals kicked off at Wachovia Center Arena in Philadelphia. The stadium was full of cheering Philadelphia fans. They wore the 76ers' customized orange cheer t-shirts, held up the cheer cards in their hands, and shouted Anzi's name in their mouths. Before the award ceremony, Anzi stood in the player channel. His teammates have already played, and the Cavaliers can choose to play first, or choose to play later. In the end, they choose to play later. LeBron James: I don't want to see the scene where Anzi wins the regular season MVP trophy. The audience rang out in unison with the MVP shouts, and 11 gently calmed down his heavy breathing, and finally, in the shout of the host, he rushed out of the player tunnel. Let's welcome the 2014-2105 season US basketball regular season MVP. Anzi. Anzi. MVP. Anzi. MVP. Anzi. MVP. Anzi. MVP. The 2014-2015 regular season MVP winner is Anzi. At the same time, the major commentators on the commentary began to announce that Anzi won the honor of the season's regular season MVP. This is another heavyweight honor that Anzi has won. Now, he is on the right path to surpass Michael Jordan, and he is going farther and farther. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 687. Anzi crowned the regular season MVP at home. This is a great moment. But LeBron James doesn't think so. He hopes to disrupt the 76ers celebration banquet while the whole 76ers are celebrating. After the award ceremony, the atmosphere in the Wachovia Arena suddenly changed. The Cavaliers came on stage, and the arena booed for a while. LeBron James, you villain who betrayed your brother. LeBron James, you are a loser forever. LeBron James became the target of public criticism, and the slurs from the sidelines kept coming, but LeBron James was always an expression. When the starting players of the two teams stood in the center of the court, the game was on the verge of breaking out. At this time, only Anzi was left in LeBron James' eyes. Up to now, the Cavaliers have stumbled, but the 76ers have swept away. They have already won 8 consecutive victories. The state of the two teams is not the same as their strength. If the Cavaliers want to win, they must seize every opportunity to start the game. They must play stronger. The Cavaliers' starting lineup is center Timofey Mozgov, power forward Kevin Love, small forward LeBron James, shooting guard J.R. Smith and point guard Kelly Irving. The 76ers are still the starting lineup for the previous games, with point guard Ismail Smith, shooting guard Anzi, small forward Jack Lauder, power forward Paul Gasol and center Norrens Noel. Norrens Noel and Mozgov jumped the ball. With a beep, the basketball was thrown over the arena, and the Eastern Conference Finals officially began. The young Norrens Noel jumped faster and higher, and directly grabbed the opening ball, so the 76ers first began to attack. Ismail Smith took the ball. Facing Kelly Irving's defense, Ismail Smith didn't mean to take the ball offensively. He was just a functional point guard who held the ball to the front court and delivered the basketball directly. Angzi's hands. Angzi takes the ball, standing in front of him is J.R. Smith. This is an unequal matchup. The Cavaliers have not realized this. In fact, if David Blatter is careful enough, the Cavaliers' starting shooting guard should be Iraq Man Shumpert, although Shumpert's defense against Angzi was not very good. But at least, Iman Shumpert is still defensive compared to J.R. Smith. Facing the undefended J.R. Smith, Angzi's play is very simple: sprint one step, throw off J.R. Smith, rush into the three-point line, stop a jump shot, two ends. A good start. Angzi got the first point in the Eastern Conference Finals. And J.R. Smith's defense is meaningless. He didn't even touch the corner of Angzi's clothes, let alone defend it. The 76ers scored the goal at the beginning. This is the credit of Angzi. With Angzi's ability, there is no chance of a miss in the opening singles. Therefore, for the Cavaliers, if you want to take the lead in the opening, don't take out 200%. It's impossible to achieve their original goal. Therefore, after getting the ball, the Cavaliers directly started the offense. It has to be said that LeBron James, who returned to Cleveland, has matured a lot on the first goal of the game. He played quite resolutely, a strong jump, and then broke through the 76ers defense, made a layup, and also made 2 points. The 76ers' the opening tie with the Cavaliers was 2-2. Basketball once again came to Angzi's hands, still J.R. Smith's defense. J.R. Smith is already trying his best to defend Angzi, he even yelled, but all this is of no avail. Angzi is still a strong jumper. This time he used a step-back jumper. The next second, hey! With a sound, the basketball wiping the net sounded. Go in again. J.R. Smith felt desperate, and in front of Angzi, he could not resist. Angzi has scored consecutively and is in a hot state. In fact, the Cavaliers have fallen into a passive state of the game until now. Throughout the 76ers games this season, as long as Angzi has performed well in the game, he has not lost even a goal. No matter how behind the team, Angzi can always use personal performance to help the team win. 101 points is the proof. LeBron James also began to attack with the ball. It is still Jack Lauder's one-on-one defense. Jack Lauder has been defended very well, but LeBron James still forcibly broke into the inside and succeeded in a layup again. I have to say that LeBron James's personal ability is still very good. Single-on-one defense, no one in the league can defend him except Angzi. But now Angzi didn't even think about defending LeBron James. Angzi still needs to put all his energy on the offensive end. In this game, the 76ers' goal is to attack the Cavaliers' defense. Everyone is saying that offense wins the fans, and only defense can win the championship, but this season, the 76ers show people how to use offense to win the championship. On the field, the 76ers served in the backcourt. It was Angzi. He picked up the ball and rushed to the front court. He caught the Cavaliers by surprise. At 6-4, Angzi scored 3 goals in a row. Now, the pressure is on LeBron James. LeBron James continues to push through the inside with Jack Lauder's defense. This season, LeBron James's long-range shooting has been poor. In this extremely important game, LeBron James dare not look for his own long-range shooter in the opening game. Really, almost every goal in the opening is a strong breakthrough in the inside, and the success rate is. Jack Lauder still didn't block the ball. LeBron James hit the basket again, he roared. After tying the score again, LeBron James had already got red eyes. But this was useless, because Angzi scored again. This time it was a three-pointer. Pau Gasol picks and rolls outside, Angzi moves laterally, drifts three-pointer, scream, hit again. After scoring 7 points in a row, Angzi was already unstoppable. LeBron James struggles to chase points, but in terms of efficiency, he is still far behind Angzi. In the end, in the first quarter, Angzi scored 17 points and helped the 76ers take a 5-point lead with 34:29. LeBron James is also scoring. He also scored a 10-point in the first quarter, but whether it is the efficiency of scoring or the way of scoring, LeBron James is far inferior to Angzi, not so much as the first. The 5-point gap between the two teams is the gap between the two teams, rather than the gap between Angzi and LeBron James. Even the gap between Angzi and LeBron James may be even greater, which is also possible. After all, in the first quarter, Angzi's personal score was 7 points more than LeBron James. The Cavaliers are in a difficult situation. They are not the 76ers' opponents at all. In the second quarter, Angzi and LeBron James, who played the first quarter, both left the field to rest. At this time, the other core players of the two teams appeared. The Cavaliers' other two giants last time, with a bunch of substitute players, faced the 76ers bench led by Pau Gasol and Lewis Williams. I have to say that the Cavaliers have a luxurious lineup. If it weren't for the big gap between LeBron James and Angzi, this game was really good. Under the leadership of Kelly Irving and Kevin Love, the Cavaliers and 76ers had played off the bench. A 5-5 open, and halfway through the second quarter, LeBron James and Angzi reappeared. Angzi rested for 5 minutes, and when he saw LeBron James walk to the substitution area in front of the technical stage, he also stood up actively. "Brett, let me go and defeat them in one fell swoop." With consecutive victories in the playoffs, Brett Brown's confidence also came up. He waved his hand and directly agreed. "Okay, go to Angzi, try to end the game at halftime." Brett Brown didn't put the Cavaliers in his eyes anymore, he just wanted to end the suspense of the game as soon as possible. LeBron James played, and Angzi followed suit. This time, the positions of the two are opposite, and the real battle is finally about to begin. R.W. Sankai Chinese et. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan Sanbu Letinji. Chapter 688. Angzi played again. In the second quarter, the score of the two teams was 45-39. The 76ers still maintained a 6-point lead. With the Cavaliers' possession of the ball, LeBron James took the basketball from Tristan Thompson, turned and advanced to the front court, facing Angzi. The second quarter continued. "Oh no, what did we see?" Angzi directly faced LeBron James. "Is this going to give the Cavaliers a living?" Now, everyone knows that Angzi is stronger. When Angzi is facing LeBron James, everyone thought that the Cavaliers were going to lose, that they would lose completely. At this time, LeBron James was under a lot of pressure, and he also understood all of this. Therefore, he tried his best to score above Angzi's head. He completely ignored his physical ability and started with a strong jump. But Angzi's defensive performance is so good, not even the slightest amount of space for LeBron James, it is simply ruthless. In the face of Angzi's airtight defense, LeBron James could only choose to make a strong shot. With a bang, "Don't enter." Tristan Thompson grabbed an offensive rebound and made a tip. At 45:41, the points difference could not be widened. Angzi takes the ball from the backcourt. He is not impatient. He can play well with the Cavaliers in time. Soon, a solo show belonging to Angzi will begin. Outside the three-point line of the front court, Angzi took the ball and faced LeBron James' defense with a snap. After a second, Angzi suddenly accelerated. It was only the first step and Angzi completely threw away LeBron. Brown James. LeBron James quickly turned around and attached Angzi. But the next second, there was another babble. Angzi made an emergency stop and shot a jumper. Swish, the ball is in. There is no suspense. The fans in the Wachovia Arena were ready to cheer. The moment the ball was scored, there was a tsunami in the arena. An 11 has been able to guarantee a sufficient hit rate for jump shots at this position. As long as he makes a shot, he will make a shot in most cases unless his opponent has sufficient defense. At 47:41, the point difference returned to 6 points. For the Cavaliers, LeBron James is still holding the ball. He continues to stand up against Angzi's defense. Now, LeBron James knows very well that the only way to win is to win Angzi in a one-on-one matchup. This is a necessary obstacle for the Cavaliers to win the game. If they can't pass, the Cavaliers will definitely lose in this game. Facing Angzi, LeBron James rushed into the basket. Just when he wanted to complete the attack with a backhand posture, he snapped a big hat facing him. The big hat came from Angzi. LeBron James was eaten to death by Angzi again. The basketball slapped by Angzi was picked up by Lewis Williams on the outside, and Angzi yelled, "Quick break." Lewis Williams reacted immediately, turned around for the first time, and launched a fast break counterattack. On the field, Iman Shumpert quickly withdrew from defense. He accelerated back to defense step by step. Finally, as he approached the basket, he also approached Lewis Williams at the same time. He jumped up, opened his long arms, and wanted interfering with Lewis Williams' layup. But soon, he saw Lewis Williams' triumphant smile. The basketball was instantly thrown into the air by Lewis Williams. This is not a layup. With a bang, Iman Shumpert was frightened and hid on the other side. He turned his head and saw that Angzi was hanging there like a demon on the basket. An empty dunk. The score has been expanded. At 49:41, the points difference widened to 8 points. Then, LeBron James still failed to break Angzi's defense. Now, he has a demon. The more he wants to break Angzi's defense, the more difficult it is to succeed. On the contrary, Angzi scored again and again. After halftime, the 76ers led the Cavaliers by 16 points with 63:47. At the end of halftime, Angzi scored 33 points. In this game, his personal status is completely broken. LeBron James can't help him, let alone Iman Shumpert and J.R. Smith. The current Cavaliers are no longer there. People can limit Angzi. For the underdogs and for the underdogs who are about to lose, Angzi had no desire to communicate. At halftime, Angzi didn't even look at LeBron James and turned away. Although he has not failed yet, LeBron James has already tasted the taste of failure in advance. In the second half, the Cavaliers collapsed. Angzi scored 8 points at the start, and the point difference was quickly expanded to 20 points. Everything was over early. After 3 quarters, the 76ers clocked in and got off work. In the commentary, Charles Barkley no longer knew what to say, but Kenny Smith on the other side was talking. From the perspective of this game, the Cavaliers are no better than the Celtics and Bulls in the first 2 rounds of the series. Strong. A lot of people are saying that the 76ers have a strong suppressing power against a team with shooting guards as the core. Playing the Bulls proves this. But in this game, this view is actually wrong. It should be changed to, Angzi has a strong suppressing force against a team with wing players as its core. In this game, Angzi changed his position once and faced LeBron James. During the whole game, LeBron James was completely eaten to death by Angzi. The comparison of the two figures is proof. Angzi scored 45 points and 8 rebounds, 9 assists and 3 steals, while LeBron James only had 22 points, 6 rebounds and 7 assists. This is a full suppression. The commentator of Cleveland TV has been wailing, "No, Angzi is too strong. I think the league should impose some restrictions on Angzi. His existence is definitely an inhibition of the sport of basketball. He is so strong that other people have no chance at all. LeBron James is very strong. I used to think he had a chance to surpass Michael Jordan, but now, I can only say that LeBron James is more than 1 grade worse than Angzi. This game has fully proved this." With a buzzing sound, the timer beeps, and the game is over. Anxi had already rested off the court for almost 1/4 of the game. As soon as the game ended, he threw off his towel, walked to the sidelines and shook hands with his opponents symbolically, and immediately left the field. This game was not interesting. What Anxi did not expect was that the Cavaliers were so weak. And LeBron James, who didn't even have the ability to resist him, Anxi could only shake his head and exclaimed that his improvement this season is so great that now, he is completely beyond the league. Anxi doesn't know what Adam Ziahua thinks of him now. Anyway, he is going to rule this alliance now, and even the once chosen son can't stop him. All this is doomed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 689. After the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals, the league was in a mess. The 76ers are too strong, or in other words, Anxi is too strong. After the first game, even LeBron James was a little confused. He lost the 76ers in the regular season, and in the playoffs, even the chance to change hands was gone. If you continue to fight like this, not to mention the championship, LeBron James even thinks, there won't even be more Eastern Conference trophies in his career. I have to say that this season, Anxi's personal performance is the top in league history, and even with the strong performance of the 76ers this season, people have also seen the rise of a new historical team. Perhaps, the 76ers have chance to become the second Chicago Bulls and dominate the league for a very long time. However, in the face of such a 76ers, LeBron James still does not want to admit defeat. He is a very utilitarian player, otherwise he would not go to the Heat through a decision. Although he did not win the championship, at the time, LeBron James' idea is to get 1 or 2 championship rings first through the group of superstars. But he failed. Therefore, so far, LeBron James has nothing on his hands. His idea of standing in the top 10 or even the top 5 in league history has also become a fantasy. If you don't work hard and wait until 10 years or 20 years later, people will only remember LeBron James, who is ranked in the top 50 in the league. When that happens, when LeBron James is mentioned, everyone will think that there is no championship because of the Elgin Baylor jewels in front. He even not an uncrowned king. Therefore, LeBron James must fight. Mr. David, I think we need to change, at least, we need a win. In the Cavaliers training hall in Philadelphia, LeBron James forced the team to make changes. In fact, the current Cavaliers still have not fully revolved around LeBron James. LeBron James believes that this is the strength of the Cavaliers. Inferior to the 76ers, the Cavaliers want to grow, and if they want to fight against the 76ers, they must fight around him. All the ball rights must be in his hands. Kelly Irving and Kevin Love only need to move, and everything will be controlled by him, including the final victory. So, LeBron, how do you think we should fight? Give me the ball, I will solve everything. LeBron James thought he was very domineering, but David Blatter did not buy it. David Blatter knew very well that once he lost this round of the series, he must have lost his coaching position. He didn't deal with LeBron James very much. He was able to stay on the team because of the breath of air at the end of the regular season. If he loses in the playoffs, he will definitely be dismissed. To be honest, he was the scapegoat for the Cavaliers to lose to the 76ers. Now David Blatter is still very determined. He strongly requires the team to play according to his tactics. Therefore, David Blatter refused to LeBron James' request. No, LeBron, I am the head coach. You must listen to me in terms of tactics. As a result, a controversy ended. LeBron James was helpless and angry. He wanted to run directly in front of Cavaliers general manager David Griffin and ask the team to fire David Blatter directly. It is clear that at the current arch-enemy, it is impossible for the team to change coaches. On the other side, the war between the Warriors and the Rockets began. Chris Paul started his fishing career tragically. This time, he was only one step away from the floor of the Western Finals, but there was no way, he could not set foot on the Western Finals. The floor will always be his black spot. The Rockets entering the Western Conference Finals have long been ignored. In the latter few games of the Western Conference semifinals, James Harden, the core of the Rockets, was even given up in order to win. At a critical moment, James Harden didn't get anything. In the end, the Rockets won the Clippers only by the Harden-free Rockets. But in the Western Conference Finals, if the superstars do not play, it is difficult for the Rockets to win. The first game proved this. The Rockets didn't get any chance in the whole game. Facing Klay Thompson, the league's second shooting guard, James Harden performed extremely badly. With only one Dwight Howard, the Rockets could not win. So, in the end, the Warriors won the East finale easily 115-98. Both the East and the West were easily won. After one game, the final matchup seemed to have appeared. However, neither the Rockets nor the Warriors are the 76ers' opponent. After the first battle of the Eastern Conference, the gambling company urgently lowered the odds for the 76ers to win the championship. With the 76ers currently in a scary state, I dare not say 100% of the championship, at least 70% or 80%. Too bad, immediately lowered the odds further. The Warriors lead the Rockets 1-0. Another day passed, and the second game of the Eastern Conference Finals began. The Cavaliers still haven't made any changes. LeBron James is the main player, followed by Kelly Irving and Kevin Love, playing the basketball that David Blatter wants. In fact, at this stage, everyone, including LeBron James, thinks that David Blatter's choice is wrong, but after a few years, they will find that David Blatter's choice is correct because LeBron James is difficult to use at critical moments. If Irving and Love can't make the fire, the Cavaliers really don't want to win. Of course, this is a story. At this stage, Irving and Love have yet to find a way to play under LeBron James' system, so they can't fire yet, but if they don't try, they will never find it. In the second battle of the Eastern Finals, the situation fell to one side from the beginning. LeBron James was totally unable to resist Angzi's offensive. Just 5 minutes into the game, the Cavaliers were beaten by the 76ers 18-5, and Angzi scored 13 points alone, completely blasting James, who applied to face Angzi. So, from the beginning of the game, a completely unmatched game continued. Angzi continued to show off, but the Cavaliers could not resist it. The Cavaliers could not solve the problem of Angzi alone. Therefore, this game was another halftime game that lost suspense. The 76ers are invincible in their home court, and if you add the full fire Angzi, there seems to be no team that can beat the 76ers in this world. So, after the 48 minutes of the game, the 76ers won again. At 128-99, Angzi had full firepower, scoring 47 points, 8 rebounds and 11 assists, completely unstoppable. If you use a term in the game, at this moment, Angzi is already super god. After 2 home games, the 76ers 2-0 Cavaliers. For the Cavaliers, the situation suddenly became worse. David Blatter was under pressure, and under the pressure, he almost couldn't stand it. Super role player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 690. LeBron, for this game, I decided to do what you said, give you all the ball and hope you won't let me down. After 2 unbeaten defeats, David Blatter compromised. He has no choice. The Cavaliers can no longer lose, especially in the way of David Blatter. The Cavaliers must make changes, and David Blatter must also make changes. LeBron James got what he wanted, but he was not happy, because in the first 2 games, he had seen the strength of Angzi and the 76ers, which he could not imagine. Giving all the ball to him is an illusion that LeBron James has always had before. He believes that all the ball belongs to him and the Cavaliers have a chance to win. But now, LeBron James has no confidence. Especially when the third game will return to his home court, LeBron James is beginning to be afraid. He is afraid of losing in his hometown. If the situation really becomes like that, he will be a complete loser. However, in the face of David Blatter's compromise, he still agreed. "David, you should have been like this long ago." LeBron James acted as a matter of course and he was confident, but no one knew that LeBron James was still hiding his true self at this time. The third game is about to begin. LeBron James is very nervous. All the ball rights are given to him, and the victory and defeat are given to him. His pressure is too great. The Cavaliers returned to Cleveland, and the media swarmed, and the small city of Kirkland suddenly became the focus of the world. When the 76ers plane landed at Cleveland International Airport, everyone knew that the two games that determined this era would soon begin in Cleveland. In the West, the Rockets struggled to push the Warriors to the last minute of the game. At the last moment, Harden scored consecutively, but it was too late. At the last minute of the game, the Rockets were still 1 point short. In the end, at 98-99, the Rockets lost the game by 1 point. The West has also developed to 2-0, but compared to the East, the Warriors have not yet been able to show their dominance. The 76ers want to continue to show their dominance. At the Cleveland International Airport, facing reporters, Anzi said, "Yes, I want to take away 2 victories from Cleveland. Yes, we want to win the championship trophy at Quicken Loans Arena." Anzi is full of self-confidence. For the finals, he is determined to win. Anzi used to be humble, but now, Anzi will no longer be humble, and it is time for him not to be humble anymore. Now, Anzi wants to show his ambition and he wants to become the overlord of this era. After the Sixers arrived in Cleveland, they trained for a day in the rented arena. The next day, the third game of the Eastern Conference Finals began. In Quicken Loans Arena, 20,000 Cavaliers fans filled this seemingly shabby arena. It is said that after LeBron James returned to Cleveland, owner Dan Gilbert made a fortune and announced the construction of a new arena. Indeed, looking at the shabby things of Quicken Loans Arena, it really has to be changed. However, the enthusiasm of the fans on the scene was not diminished. Facing the 76ers, a huge noise was directly created in the arena, and the boos continued. After a short warm-up, the game officially began. The starting points of the two teams are still the same. For the 76ers, point guard Ismail Smith, shooting guard Anzi, small forward Jack Lauder, power forward Paul Gasol and center Norrens Noel. On the Cavaliers side, point guard Kelly Irving, shooting guard J.R. Smith, small forward LeBron James, power forward Kevin Love and center Timothy Mozgov. Mozgov and Norrens Noel jumped the ball. Noel grabbed the basketball first and won the opening ball for the 76ers. With the first ball in the opening game, the basketball was directly handed over to Anzi. In the shooting guard position, the Cavaliers did not change, but this does not mean that they did not pay attention to the defense of Anzi. The reason for J.R. Smith to continue to start is to keep the 76ers under pressure on the offensive end. As for the task of defending Anzi, David Bulletin Rattle can only hand it over to LeBron James. At this moment, LeBron James is under tremendous pressure. He not only has to control the team's offense, but also has to defend Anzi. In the opening, Anzi's first wave of offense was not blocked by LeBron James. Anzi used a quick acceleration to get rid of, and anxiously stopped the jumper to score. Anzi's mid-range shots have become more precise, there is only a trace of openness, and almost all shots must be entered. LeBron James had no choice but to wave his hand helplessly as Anzi scored. But after getting the ball, LeBron James wants to get back on the offensive end. LeBron James came to the front court with the ball, Facing Angzi's defense, LeBron James directly accelerated, like a tank moving at full speed, directly attacking Angzi's defense. Angzi was temporarily suppressed. In terms of physical fitness, he is still somewhat inferior to LeBron James. The two entered the penalty area one after another. This is the biggest breakthrough LeBron James has made in the two games. Under Angzi's defense, he finally grabbed some opportunities. With this goal, he went straight inside. A collective scream and exclamation sounded from the sidelines. LeBron James rushed into the penalty area and jumped up. Sporadic cheers are beginning to appear in the Quicken Loans arena. Is LeBron James going to succeed? Everyone grew their mouths, looking forward to the moment when LeBron James scored. Although it was only a goal, it was a goal facing Angzi's defense. From the first two games of the series, if this goal is scored, it may be a turning point for the series. The Cavaliers fans couldn't help but want to cheer, but Angzi also jumped up, jumping high and not low, slapped, like hitting a volleyball, and yelled, "Get out." Then, the basketball was slammed by Linsing and flew directly from the backcourt penalty area to the front court, rushing out of the sideline. At that moment, the Quicken Loans arena was silent. In the commentary, Charles Barkley was stunned for a long time before shouting, "Oh no." The goal that LeBron James wanted to win was actually destroyed by Angzi, and it was strongly destroyed by Angzi. Angzi was expressionless. In this game, he will let the Cavaliers and LeBron James know what despair is. After defending LeBron James's must goal, Angzi's momentum rose and the Cavaliers resurfaced the ball in the backcourt. However, after the reset, the ball was not given enough time. LeBron James dribbled for a few seconds and threw the pot in the last 2 seconds. Kelly Owen forced a three-pointer and didn't make it. The rebound was taken by Pau Gasol. With the 76ers offense, Angzi once again faced LeBron James at the top of the arc of the three-point line. He held the ball in the high post and directly chose a backup singles. After 2 steps, he suddenly turned around and made a jumper, scoring another 2 points. 4:0, Quicken Loans arena continued to be quiet. Angzi's performance has begun. In the backcourt of the 76ers, LeBron James forced Angzi, but he hadn't made 2 moves yet, and he was directly turned sideways by Angzi. He snapped the ball and stole the ball. The audience exclaimed, but everything could not be stopped. An 11 shot the basketball, jumped out, grabbed the basketball directly, and rushed directly to the basket on the front court. With a bang, a dunk continued to quiet the Quicken Loans arena. 6:0. This is not the end. LeBron James, who has got all the ball rights, has already gotten into the horn tip. In fact, he must also drill the horn tip. Since the ball belongs to LeBron James, the Cavaliers want to win this game. LeBron James this point must be fired first. But Angzi seemed to have held LeBron James 7 inches, once again entangled LeBron James on the defensive end, and once again defended a mid-range jumper from LeBron James. Lawrence Knoll protected the rebound, and then flicked the basketball was once again handed over to Angzi. Angzi caught the ball, rushed to the front court, and chased for a three-pointer. 9:0. This was not over yet. LeBron James continued to miss the layup, and 11 failed to push the fast break, and the positional warfare once again resorted to post-up singles. After turning around and deceiving LeBron James, an 11 strode into the inside and rushed into the post. Murphy Mozgov dunks. Goal in. And it caused a foul by Timofey Mozgov. Then, go to the free throw line and make an extra free throw. 2-1, for a time, the Quicken Loans arena booed everywhere. This boo was not only given to Angzi, but also to the Cavaliers players. In the opening 3 minutes, the Cavaliers were beaten 12-0 by Angzi. This surprised everyone. The night was completely unable to resist, and 11 had already run away. Starting at 12-0, the game was beyond the control of the Cavaliers from the beginning. The 76ers have fully grasped the initiative in this match-point battle. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 691. David Blatter called a timeout. There was no way. The game was completely beyond his control. He didn't know what LeBron James was thinking now. He only knew the score and the situation on the court. LeBron James was completely responsible. The nuclear style of play is not the 76ers all-in-one enemy at all. Anzi led the 76ers to score 12 points in a row, while the Cavaliers didn't score a single point. LeBron James' singles could not break Anzi's defense at all. He was crushed by Anzi and had no ability to breathe. With this kind of game going on, David Blatter is no longer thinking about winning or losing. He is afraid of tragedy. If he is beaten by the 76ers in a tragedy, David Blatter will not even think about finding a job. So after thinking about it, David Blatter decided to stop LeBron James. Well, guys, we can't go on like this anymore, Kelly. In the next period of time, you will attack with the ball more. But coach, our style of play in this game is not like this. LeBron James didn't wait for David Blatter to speak, and directly interrupted. David Blatt froze for a moment. Originally, he thought that the game was already like this. LeBron James should know that a game based entirely on him would not work. If it remains the same, then this game will be a tragedy. But LeBron James has fallen into a dead end in his personal thinking. He is obsessed with his singles and he is obsessed with opening the situation through himself. David Blatter has no way to stop it. LeBron James in the game is not something everyone can stop. Many fans know that LeBron James has the nickname of Manager James and Coach James. On the court, LeBron James will often overtake him on his behalf. The commanding game. David Blatter was not liked by LeBron James originally, so LeBron James took over the coaching duties on his behalf a lot now. LeBron James once again vetoed David Blatter's changes, and then, insist on using him as the core. The game restarted, and a surprising scene happened. After the timeout, the Cavaliers did not make any changes. LeBron James took the ball once again, and even Anzi was stunned, but after the timeout, Anzi began to save energy and no longer maintained the opening period of the first quarter. Defensive strength, therefore, LeBron James also got a few good opportunities. But there are only a few opportunities. In general, the Cavaliers are still suppressed. The 76ers score again and the Cavaliers also score. However, compared with the progress of the 76ers, the Cavaliers' scoring is very difficult. After the first quarter, at 38-19, the 76ers took a 19-point lead. It can be said that after the first quarter, the game is over. The Cavaliers want to tie the 19-point difference in the remaining 3 quarters, which is tantamount to idiotic dreams. Even the Cavaliers fans on the sidelines think so. In fact, some Cavaliers fans on the sidelines can't help but complain about LeBron James. When LeBron James decided to leave Cleveland, these fans cursed LeBron James frantically and burned LeBron James' jersey frantically. It can be said that their hatred of LeBron James is manifested in every way. At the beginning of the season, LeBron James returned to Cleveland. This group of fans reverted back and once again supported LeBron James. At the same time, they look forward to LeBron James being able to lead his hometown team to win the first championship in kickin', especially when the top pick Andrew Wiggins is traded in exchange for the Beast of the West, Kevin Love. Fans believe that LeBron James will not lead the team to win the championship. It will be unforgivable. Because of the luxurious lineup of the Cavaliers that make up the Big Three, the paper strength is not even lower than the 76ers who won the championship last season. At least, the 76ers only have 2 All-Stars, and the Cavaliers have 3. But now, the Cavaliers have been beaten up by the 76ers and have no power to fight back. The disappointment of this group of Cavaliers fans can be imagined. Under the endless disappointment, they naturally begin to resent LeBron James. Some fans even believe that if LeBron James does not come back, perhaps the Cavaliers' record this season will not be too good, but with Irving and Andrew Wiggins, perhaps the future of the Cavaliers is brighter. LeBron James didn't know all of this. At the beginning of the second quarter, he continued to play and was 19 points behind in the first quarter. This made LeBron James eager to chase points. Continuous appearances are affirmative. LeBron James even vetoed the game. Vlad once again wanted to return to the previous two tactical proposals. LeBron James had to ignore his physical problems and continue to play. On the other side, Anzi took a leisurely rest for a few minutes. A few minutes later, LeBron James had a good performance in chasing points. In a few minutes, he chased 5 points, and the point difference was suddenly reduced to 14 points. At this time, Anzi on the sidelines also had enough rest, shook off the towel on her body, and was ready to play. A 14-point lead. Obviously, this advantage is not enough for the 76ers to win the game. An 11 is ready to play again and end the suspense of the game with another wave. Substitution, Anzi has played. Let's see if the 76ers who own Anzi can still play the first quarter suppression. Anzi stood in the center of the court, sorted out his jersey for a while, looked at LeBron James who was already standing next to him, and smiled. "Are you ready for failure?" LeBron. The team showed full dominance. An 11 was in a good mood. He joked and said trash. Then LeBron James couldn't bear it anymore and replied, "You are not a hero." Anzi continued to smile, "I am not a hero, I am just a winner." This sentence choked LeBron James speechless. Then, Anzi had to use his performance on the court to prove that he was the real winner. "We need to play a suppressive force, just like the beginning of the game, to end the game." Before the kickoff, Anzi yelled at his teammates, and then Jong took the serve from Jack Lauder's sideline and started the 76ers offense. 14 points difference, Anzi met LeBron James, he glanced at the basket and turned on the personal mode again. Leaning on LeBron James with his back, turned sideways, deceived LeBron James's center of gravity, and then retreated to take a jump shot. LeBron James stretched his arms vigorously and waved towards an 11's face, but an 11 flicked his hand and the basketball shot directly, past LeBron James' interference. The two of them hadn't landed yet. With a scream, the ball was scored. The difference has become 16 points. As the goal was scored, Tencent Sports commentator K-Fan yelled, "Pretty." Anzi, LeBron James has tried his best, but he still can't stop Anzi. It seemed that K-Fan was very excited. Yang Yi beside him also smiled. LeBron James is a loser, but he is only the loser in front of Anzi. He can't beat Anzi at all. There is really no suspense in this round of the series. The 76ers started defensively, and LeBron James started to take the ball again. But this time, what he was going to face was Anzi's single defense. It was simply too difficult. Facing Anzi's high-intensity single defense, LeBron James didn't have much to do. He sprinted for a while and stopped with Anzi's defense. Jump shot, miss. The rebound was snatched by Noren's Knoll and they immediately counterattacked. Anzi took the lead. After he got the basketball, he rushed to the front court with a dunk. With a loud noise, the score difference was opened to 18 points. In the next few minutes, Anzi maintained this high-intensity confrontation style, scoring consecutively, and continuously defending LeBron James' offense. LeBron James suddenly had a return to the first half of the first quarter. It feels that it doesn't work no matter how to fight, and it can only be defeated by the 76ers and Anzi. After halftime, Anzi scored 33 points, 4 rebounds and 5 assists. The 76ers led the Cavaliers by 29 points at halftime. There is no blood on the faces of the Cavaliers fans. A fan who seems to be a veteran for many years has been shaking his head and exclaiming, "The gap is too big, and it is impossible to fight at all." Another young fan also said, if there is such a big gap, then I don't think we need to raise LeBron James anymore. He is a white-eyed wolf. I don't know when he will leave again. A female fan vowed, LeBron James will go, he will go to Philadelphia for the championship. Immediately after halftime, the Cavaliers have already lost the game and even the Eastern Conference Finals. In fact, it was true. For the remaining half of the game, the Cavaliers didn't even have the slightest means to fight. The 76ers easily controlled the game and finally won a 40-point victory. The series led by 3-0, and the 76ers were about to sweep again. The Cavaliers lost even worse in this game. They were blown up by the 76ers from start to finish. This also proved that LeBron James was the core of the game. It just doesn't work, David Blatter is correct. But at this time, LeBron James was already irritated. After the game, he yelled at the team general manager David Griffin and asked the team to fire David Blatter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletinji. Chapter 692. The Cavaliers fought 3 games in a row and lost 3 games in a row. With no hope of winning at all, the Cavaliers did not sum up themselves, instead they had internal strife first. LeBron James asked the team to fire David Blatter. The general manager of the team, David Griffin, naturally refused. He had to fire the boss before the Eastern Conference Finals was over. Obviously this was a big taboo. Brown James also disagrees with his request. He doesn't think David Blatter did a bad job. On the contrary, David Griffin believes that the most suitable head coach for the Cavaliers at this stage is David Blatter. If it weren't for David Blatter, the Cavaliers and even the Eastern Conference Finals would be dangerous. In terms of coaching strength, David Griffin still recognizes David Blatter, the champion coach returning from Europe. At least, people have dry goods, and European champions are dry goods. What does LeBron James have? 4 total runner-up trophies. As for not being able to beat the 76ers, David Griffin believes that more is due to the difference in strength. The 76ers are too strong. In other words, Anzi is too strong. The current Anzi is at least equivalent to 2 peaks. Brown James is so strong. Even David Griffin believes that, not surprisingly, Anzi will surpass Michael Jordan in modern basketball. David Griffin, who saw no hope, saw the ugliness of LeBron James, thinking in his heart, should he persuade Mr. Dan Gilbert to stop renewing his contract with LeBron James, and do his best in the next few years. Accumulate young and talented players and wait for the end of Anzi's dominance. But after thinking about it, I found it unrealistic. Anzi is 27 years old, just at the beginning of the peak. The peak of a basketball player is usually around 30 years old. Superstars like Anzi generally won't reach the peak until they are 33. In other words, Anzi will rule this alliance for at least 6 years. After 6 years? Maybe Dan Gilbert will agree, but the die-hard LeBron James inker will not agree. In the 4th game, the Cavaliers have already started infighting. David Blatter still did not end his get-out-of-class. General Manager David Griffin is impossible to risk the world and break the rules, and relieve the boss before the end of the Eastern Conference. But this game David Blatter was still emptied. The arrangement before the game was that LeBron James instructed the team's chief assistant Tyrone Lue to do it. After the game started, David Blatter had no rights, almost everything. The substitutions were made at the direction of LeBron James. But the score was not as expected. There was no suspense. The 76ers had already led the Cavaliers by a big score after halftime. In fact, at this stage of the game, the idea of the Cavaliers is no longer winning the game, almost everyone has their own ideas. What LeBron James thinks is, he is the emperor of this team, everyone must obey him, there can be no defiance, but now, David Blatt is obviously a prosecutor and thief, he must clear David Bulletin-Lat. David Blatter is very aggrieved. In Europe, he is the champion coach. He has the final say on almost everything in the team. The head stars of the team must respect him, but in the NBA, in the Cavaliers, LeBron James is the emperor here, and LeBron James has the final say in almost everything. LeBron James came later. As soon as he came, he let the team send away Andrew Wiggins and signed into the Royal Salute team including McMillan and James Jones. This is not actually David Blatter. Want to see? He is a European coach and he admires team basketball more, so he hopes that the team's ball rights can be dispersed rather than concentrated in the hands of one player, which is what he is good at. But because of LeBron James' own system, the Cavaliers' team basketball can only be said to be a pseudo-team basketball. LeBron James owns the ball with one hand, and the Royal Salute takes the ball and shoots. David Blatter simply can't play his own strengths. Even Kevin Love made adjustments accordingly, changed his style, and became a high fort that could only shoot three-pointers outside. Kelly Irving has also lost his position as the boss, and can only occasionally receive the ball in singles. Most of the time, Irving plays awkward basketball in a system he is not good at, and is free from the system. In fact, the book strength of the Cavaliers is indeed stronger than that of the 76ers, more than that. But the big three could not achieve 1 + 1 = 3, or even equal to 2. It may not be possible to do it. On the contrary, although the 76ers only have 2 All-Stars, the cooperation between Anzi and Pau Gasol can be 1. + 1 is greater than 2, plus those good role players, it can even be greater than 3 and 4. This is actually the real gap between the 76ers and the Cavaliers, and the real gap between Anzi and LeBron James. Everyone is saying that LeBron James is omnipotent, but in fact, LeBron James can only be omnipotent in his own system. Unlike Anzi, he can be omnipotent in any system. He can do what the team needs him to do. What can be done, this is the true omnipotence. Anzi's personal data is luxurious. The 76ers also play team basketball. Unlike the pseudo-team basketball of the Cavaliers, the 76ers team basketball is the team basketball that can truly play the role of role players. Isn't that? Lewis Williams also won the best sixth man under the 76ers team basketball. In the fourth game of the Eastern Conference Finals, the game became unsuspicious when the score was behind at halftime. Anzi completed the clock after 3 quarters. He scored 42 points, 8 rebounds and 11 assists, directly helping the 76ers lead the Cavaliers by 37 points in the 3 quarters. After the 3 quarters, the Cavaliers had no hope of a comeback, and the 76ers naturally replaced them all. Substitute, exhausted the last quarter of the game. In the end, the 76ers beat the Cavaliers away in Cleveland and won the Eastern Conference Finals series. This round of the series was unexpectedly relaxed, which also made Anzi feel relaxed. Before the finals, the 76ers really did not encounter any decent resistance. This is different from last year. Last year, the 76ers experienced various obstacles. He entered the finals as a dark horse under various disapproval. And this season, the 76ers swept all the Eastern enemies all the way under everyone's optimism. And then, their opponent will be the victor of the Warriors and the Rockets. Whether it is the Warriors or the Rockets, this will be a new opponent. Stephen Curry and James Harden are the core of these two teams. They have never led the team to the finals. Only James Harden has followed. The Thunder made it to the finals once, but that time, James Harden was just the sixth man of the best. Two brand new opponents, for the 76ers, the finals are still unknown, but they have a lot of confidence in themselves. After all, the 76ers have been sweeping the 3 rounds of the Eastern Conference Series, and the Western Conference opponents will not be too strong. people still have enough confidence to win victory. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 693. In the Western Conference Finals, two teams led by a young core broke into this position, and no one would look forward to the finals. But before that, they still need to defeat their opponents in front of them. The Rockets have a strong lineup. The league's second point guard James Harden, the league's first center Dwight Howard, and the headband brothers Josh Smith, Corey Brewer, and Jason Terry, who led the Western Conference semifinals comeback, the two big stars plus a group of high-quality role players. It seems that the Rockets will not make it to the finals. But in the first 4 games of the Western Conference Finals, it was the Warriors who got a big lead. After winning the first game, the Warriors continued to seize the home advantage of the second game. The game was dragged to the last minute. The Rockets made a counter-attack and almost equalized the points difference. But at the critical moment, Stephen Curry stood up with a note. A hit in the shot stabilized the game. In the end, James Harden missed key goals in a row, and the Warriors narrowly won by 1 point. The series was 2-0, and then the game moved to Houston. In Houston's first game, the Rockets gritted their teeth and wanted to win back a city. If this game is not won, the series can be declared over in advance. It is almost impossible to come back after 0-3. So at the beginning, the Rockets used their strength. First, Dwight Howard scored 2 points, leading the Warriors. Then Jason Terry missed a 3-pointer, Andrew Bogut returned a goal, and the two teams tied. But under the continuous request of Kevin McHale, the Rockets continued to play fast. Trevor Ariza scored a 3-pointer, this time he scored. In this way, under the Rockets' desperate offense, the Warriors fell behind in the opening game. However, perhaps the Warriors really want to be stronger. From the second half of the first quarter, the Warriors' counterattack has arrived. Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson hit 3-pointers one after another, leading the gap in one fell swoop, and at this critical moment, James Harden was lost again, shooting consecutive shots. In contrast, Stephen Curry opened his Curry mode, even 3-pointers. The Warriors actually surpassed the score in one fell swoop, and even gained the lead. In the second quarter of the game, Stephen Curry's 3-pointers exploded in one fell swoop, hitting consecutively and hitting 6 3-pointers directly in the half, so the game took. James Harden continued to fight the iron. His performance in this game was extremely abnormal. All kinds of irons and mistakes directly ruined the Rockets' starting advantage. At 62-37 in the half, a big lagging behind made the Rockets chase points in the second half unmotivated. In the end, the Warriors defeated the Rockets 115-80 away. This victory was different from the small wins of the previous 2 games. This big victory almost defeated the Rockets' confidence in winning this round of the series. After 3 games, the Eastern Conference Finals ended accordingly, and the 76ers swept the Cavaliers and advanced to the finals first. The Warriors have already begun to look forward to their first finals journey. However, in the 4th game, the Rockets actually summoned their last breath and completed a refusal to sweep at home and tied the total score to 3-1. The protagonist of this game is James Harden, who scored 45 points, 9 rebounds and 5 assists. After losing 3 games, James Harden finally played his due performance amidst various criticisms. In Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, the game returned to Oakland. In this game, the 76ers were finally busy with everything in the Eastern Conference Finals. They took away the Eastern Conference Championship trophy from Cleveland. By the way, before leaving, Anzi also declared his confidence in 2 consecutive championships in front of the media, regardless of opponents in the finals. Who is it? It will only be the 76ers who will win the O'Brien Cup in the end. This kind of confidence is the confidence that Anzi should have at this stage. Now, he is on the road to become the of basketball. He needs to win everything he can in the next few years. At the moment, this championship trophy is naturally unmissable. In the fifth game between the Warriors and the Rockets, Anzi watched the game all the way. Now that he is determined to win the finals, he has to understand his opponent. Anzi doesn't know much about the Rockets, but James Harden is the active second shooting guard, and is often compared with him by various media. From the perspective of personal ability, Anzi is completely worthy of James Harden, and from Anzi in past games, his presence has allowed the 76ers to overcome the Rockets, a team with a shooting guard as the core. Whether it is the Raptors or the Bulls, they can't resist an explosion from Anzi to take away the game. Compared to James Harden, who has a worse personal defense, once the 76ers face the Rockets in the finals, the suspense of winning or losing will be smaller. As for the Warriors, Anzi knew about the Warriors only 2 years ago. For this year's Warriors, Anzi only played 2 games with the Warriors, and didn't know much about it. It can be said that Anzi's understanding of this year's Warriors mostly came from the media of "It's the Warriors 2 years ago," because Anzi was still in the Spurs at the time and fought a series with the Warriors. So in contrast, Anzi knows the Warriors 2 years ago better. But this year's Warriors are obviously not what they used to be. Stephen Curry is the core of this team. As a player who was not even favored by the NCAA coach at the beginning, Stephen Curry has become a top 5 star in the NBA today. The three-pointer is his signature, and Curry's assists this season not a lot. The season averaged 23.8 points, 7.7 assists, and 2.0 steals. It can be said that if it weren't for the big bug of Anzi, this season's regular season MVP should belong to Stephen Curry. Because the Warriors have a good record, Curry's data is also good, especially the high-level data, only inferior to Anzi alone. It can even be said that even LeBron James can't compete with Anzi, but in the entire league, Stephen Curry is most likely to contend with Anzi. Klay Thompson, changed to a shooting guard in Anzi, horizontally before his birth. Klay Thompson was often compared to James Harden, who was considered the league's second shooting guard at the time, second only to Harden. This season, Klay Thompson followed the team's improvement and suddenly promoted himself into a super shooter, averaging 20+ per game. In the battle for shooting guard rankings, Klay Thompson relied on the team's record to occupy the title of the league's third shooting guard. In contrast, Draymond Green's progress is Anzi's most surprising. From last season's small role to this season's all-around defender, plus one-handed perimeter organizational support and three-pointers, Draymond Green, who started to play power forward, became the Warriors' third man. His influence on the defensive end especially huge. It can be said that the defense of the Warriors is composed of Draymond Green and Andrew Bogut, and Draymond Green is the core of the defense of the Warriors. There are also Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala on the bench, including the aforementioned Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. The Warriors have the most terrifying wing lineup in the league, which is what Anzi will face. The biggest challenge. Therefore, from all sides, the 76ers' biggest opponent is the Warriors. In fact, the development of the fifth game of the Western Conference Finals also fulfilled this point. From the beginning of the game, Stephen Curry, Harrison Barnes and Klay Thompson began to explode. The Warriors didn't score many points inside, and most of them scoring depends on three-pointers from outside, so the Warriors' three-pointers in this game are no suspense. In the end, with Stephen Curry hitting 3 three-pointers again, the Warriors easily won the fifth game with 104-90. At home in Oakland, the Warriors advanced to the finals amidst the crazy cheers of thousands of Warriors fans.